AKI. First, we will learn what is the definition of AKI. AKI is defined as a deterioration of linear function over a period of hours to days, resulting in the accumulation of nitrogen-based product and unable to maintain the fluid-electrolyte balance. What is the KDK definition of AKI? It is defined as an increase creatinine by 0.3 mg per deciliter within 48 hours, or increase in serum creatinine up to 1.5 times from the baseline, which is presumed or known to have occurred within last 7 days, or decrease in output less than 0.5 ml per kg per hour for more than 6 hours. Now, what is the epidemiology about AKI? Approximately 7% of all hospitalized patients and 20% of the acutely ill patients develop AKI. In uncomplicated AKI, the mortality is low, even patient require RRT. But in AKI associated with sepsis or multi-organ dysfunction, the mortality is very around 50 to 70%. Now, there is three parts of epidemiology of AKI. One is community acquired AKI, hospital acquired AKI, and ICU acquired AKI. Among them, we see the community acquired AKI. That their incidence is very low. It is around less than 1%, and the cause is usually single cause, unifactorial, and the mortality is not applicable. There is a very low mortality in community acquired AKI, and the common risk factor is chronic condition like diabetes, hypertension, elderly, age, gender, sepsis, dehydration, infection, drugs. Second entity is hospital acquired AKI. The incidence is around 2 to 20%. The cause can be single or multifactorial, and the overall mortality is around 15 to 40%. The common risk factor is volume depletion, hypotension, sepsis, low body output, nephrotoxic drug, and contrast diet. And the most common we acquired in the ICU is ICU acquired AKI. 20 to 60% incidence is there. It is usually multifactorial. The mortality is very around 70 to 90%, and the common risk factor is septic shock, major surgery, multi-organ failure, hypotension, low body output, nephrotoxic drugs. Majorly, the AKI is divided in three parts: pre-renal, renal, and post-renal. Pre-renal is decreased renal perfusion. The kidney is not getting enough blood. Second main cause is the renal cause, that is due to cellular damage or increasing damage to tubular epithelial cell. And third is the post-renal cause, that is due to most of obstruction, in which the urine is not unable to drain. The back pressure is increased to renal parenchyma, that is causing the AKI. Now, major classification of AKI is divided in three parts: pre-renal, intra-renal, and post-renal. Most common cause we encounter is pre-renal, that is 55%. Second is renal, that is seen in 40% of patients. Among them, they are divided in the glomerular, interstitial, tubular, and vascular. Among them, tubular is the most common cause. ATM is commonly encountered in day-to-day practice, it is around 85%. While glomerular and vascular cause are very rare for AKI. And the third entity is post-renal cause of AKI. Now we are going the detailed etiology of three part of AKI: pre-renal, renal, and post-renal. In pre-renal, we commonly see due to hypovolemia, due to excessive vomiting, loose motion, or severe blood loss, or any other cause of third space fluid loss. Second cause is decreased cardiac output. The patient has low EF. Third is decreased effective circulating volume seen in the CCF patient and liver failure patient, that's in the hepatrenal syndrome. And the fourth common cause is impaired autoregulation due to some drugs like NSAIDs, ACRP, or cyclosporine. Second part of AKI is that is renal AKI, that is given in glomerular, tubular, vascular cause, and among them the tubular interstitial is the most common cause of renal AKI, that is ATM. In ATM causes main are the ischemia, sepsis, and nephrotoxin. Nephrotoxin means that include some dyes, aminoglycosides, amphotericin, statin. Some endogenous causes like hemolysis, rhabdomyolysis, myeloma, some crystals. Glomerular etiology like acute glomerular nephritis, PSG can present with the AKI, and some vascular cause like vasculitis, pulmonary hypertension, DT Petris can present with AKI. And the post-renal cause of AKI that include the bladder artery obstruction, secondary to BPH or some CA bladder, and bilateral pelvo-ureteral obstruction or unilateral obstruction of solitary functioning kidney. So any obstructive cause like from the ureter bladder that cause the post-renal AKI.
How many AKI you have seen purely because of SC inhibitor of ARB?
I have not seen even single. Most are multifactorial, not the single factor contributing second to AC or ARB in my day-to-day practice. AK, there's some rising creatinine is occur after the starting of that ACRB, but not a significant AK.
Yes, but you will see very frequently those who are on ARBs and they are taking NSAIDs.
Yes. Not a single secondary, only ACE inhibitor. Along with patient has some comorbidity like significant diabetic kidney disease or something. Not only single case of ARB, normal patient was AK.
See, two things are very important. One is the volume contraction
Yes.
and another is the nephrotoxication.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, if there is no volume contraction,
Yes.
then probably
It will not cause.
it will not.
Like most in summer, if we are giving the patient ACE or
Any
ARB
cause of volume.
and patient are dehydrated, that causes the AKI. So any
Right.
volume contraction and we give this ACE ARB, that causes the AKI.
And that is the RAS blockade. The ARB question was specifically for RAS blockade. So you want your auto-regulation of renal blood flow to be happening. So AC or ARB mostly block that thing, and if some other causes
Other factors
added,
added, then it will cause the AKI.
You
Not
have to
only
see
ACE.
the holistic approach. See, time has changed. In good old days, AKI or what we used to call acute renal failure.
It is now changed terminology.
The right terminology has changed. Because at that time, only single organ was involved. See, most of them was only the renal failure. Now, if you see the causes, renal failure is a part of the spectrum of the problem. You see? And hence the morbidity and mortality is more. AKI is a bystander.
Clear, sir. Now we will talk about some brief of ATA.
See, this was the terminology used previously.
Yes.
ATN,
Yes.
right? ARF and ATN was the
Old terminal.
old terminology.
Yes.
Why this new terminology has come?
Because initially people used to the acute renal failure considered as some there is some.
So many of causes are reversible. So that is what to say it as a failure would be really good. So it's an injury which may
For
be
people
reversible.
to understand the considering the failure and acute kidney injury, that's why the new terminologies come. The general
It's
people
a
are
fancy.
fancy, yes.
It's a fancy.
Yes.
You see, the thing is same.
But
Yeah.
considering the failure, people consider like some kidney failure, so they have changed to new terminology. Acute
Then
kidney
now
injury.
to acute cardiac injury, why cardiac failure?
So that is now changed to acute
See, my
decompensation
whole
of heart
point is
failure.
this. Right? So why this thing has come? Because at that time, as I told, only single organ was involved. And if you pass the time frame, there was a lot of reversibility. So the person becomes totally alright. Once that 2 weeks or 3 weeks have been passed as such, it was mostly a reversible process. But then there was some subset, acute or chronic.
Some people go to CKD on long term. AKD.
That is later on, presenting as a acute or chronic,
Yes.
already pre-existing kidney disease, and now presented first time to you with the AKI. You see where the prognosis is different. And as I told that AKI is after 2 weeks or 3 weeks is a good prognosis for the myth. The person who gets AKI on long term,
Risk for CKD is another risk factor for CKD.
right? So they don't take it lightly. Okay. Sorry for.
So 18 is the most commonly occurring the ICU patient with trauma, vascular, cardiac surgery, severe pancreatic sepsis, coronary disease. And AK is the responsible. 18 is the responsible for the most of cases of hospital-acquired AKI. And usually result of ischemic nephrotoxic or combination of both. And in the intensive unit, 2,000 patients of AKI due to combination of decreased perfusion, sepsis, and nephrotoxic agent that we commonly see in our ICU. The 18. The site of tubular injury in the ATM. It is
previously it was told that what you have mentioned was the code. Now modern now, the patient is in HIV and he is on drug. This means that history is very vital.
So, tubular damage is usually due to combination of ischemic injury resulting in depletion of cellular ATP and direct tubular cell injury by the aflatoxin. Ascending segment of the proximal tubule and medullary thick ascending limb are the particularly vulnerable to hypoxia injury for several reasons. One is a high blood supply, second is the high tubular energy requirement, and third is the glycolytic ability of tubular cell. Now the AKI staging. Initially the rifle category has come for the staging of AKI that include risk, injury, failure, loss and ESRD. Risk is rising rating 1.5 times or GFR is rising for 25% from the baseline. Or decrease urine output less than 0.5 ml per
So
kg.
this is the clinical.
Clinical.
Laboratory is not coming here.
Yes. This is GFR, but we have to see the creatinine.
Urine output.
Both either
The
of
referral criteria is mainly urine output. You see, polyuria or anuria. Then you go for investigation.
Yes. So initial risk, injury, rise in creatinine 2 folds or decrease of urine output 0.5 ml per kg for more than 12 hours. Failure is considered as a 3-fold rise in creatinine or GFR decrease by 75% or anemia for more than 12 hours. That is called failure. Then loss is complete loss of renal function more than 4 weeks. ESKD is considered RD requirement for more than 3 months. This is the old rifle criteria initially came. Then after it was revised and that comes to AKI criteria. That considers stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. In which the rise in creatinine more than 1.5 to 2 times that is stage 1 or decrease output for more than 6-7. Stage 2 is considered the rise in creatinine 2 to 3 times from the baseline or less than 0.5 ml per kg per hour for more than 12 hours, this decrease output. And stage 3 is more than 3 times rise in the creatinine or creatinine is more than 4 or any requirement of RRT or anemia for more than 12 hours. These two are older criteria. Now we are recently come with the KDIGO criteria. This stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. That is usually similar to AKI criteria, in which the rise in creatinine more than 1.5 to 1.9 times from the baseline or decrease output for more than 6 to 12 hours. Stage 2 is considered 2.9 times rise in the creatinine from the baseline or output decrease for more than 12 hours. Or stage 3 is rise in creatinine more than 3 times from the baseline or rise in creatinine more than 4 or in need of RRT or anemia for more than 12 hours. So we currently consider this KDIGO criteria for staging of AKI.
See, once again I am putting, if you see the most right, the clinical.
Clinical is. Output is the most crucial for
Right?
yes.
And then you extrapolate according to the amount of urine output. You see, you assume that this may be the creatinine as such. If the output has fallen this much as such.
Because creatinine is fluctuating in AKI patient, so we have to more rely on the output for the staging.
For AKI, creatinine is not the gold standard.
Yes.
You see, we are searching for the markers
Yes, we have
for AKI. Newer or older, whatever it may be. We are searching for a marker for AKI because creatinine is very poor thing. So which are those markers?
that I mentioned it.
Okay.
Now, impact of AKI. There is a correlation between AKI classification and outcome. Around 22,000 adult patients admitted in 22 ICU in UK and Germany between 1989 and 1999 with ICU stay more than 24 hours. Among them, we can see the patient with no AKI is around 65% patient total. AKI stage 1 around 19% are stage 1, 3.8% stage 2, and around 12.5% in stage 3. We see the mean age of patient in AKI and ICU is around 60 years. But as we see the ICU mortality and hospital mortality is increasing as the staging of AKI is increasing, highest in stage 3 of AKI. So staging of AKI, high stage is covered with the increased mortality in the ICU and hospital.
You have not mentioned other organ involved. See, that is the whole
Yes.
point. Stage 3 AKI, it means that concomitant other organs are also involved.
Also involved. Now, what are the common risk factors for AKI? Age more than 75, underlying CKD, heart failure, diabetes, liver disease, PVD, and nephrotoxic agent. Now, what are the clinical features of AKI? Generally, it can be asymptomatic rise in the creatinine or albumin analysis. It can be signs or symptoms resulting from the loss of kidney function like decreased output, flank pain, edema, hypertension, or cola color urine. It can be signs and symptoms of renal failure like weakness, fatigue, anorexia, vomiting, seizure, edema. Now, diagnosis of AKI is very important by the history and physical examination. In prenatal AKI, you have to get to thorough history regarding the patient vomiting or diarrhea or glycosyl secondary to uncontrolled diabetes that cause the polyuria, and patient is on any medication like diuretics, NSAIDs, ACE, ARB. Second thing, we have to do the thorough examination regarding the physical signs like orthostatic hypotension, tachycardia, decreased JVP, skin turgor, dry mucous membrane that commonly seen in the prerenal AKI. So history and examination is very important to rule out the prerenal AKI. Regarding renal AKI, we have to see the all medication that cause like nephrotoxic medication that cause the AKI. We have to see the sign like patient is present with vasculitis like purpura, hemorrhage, sinusitis. If we are suspecting the emboli, we have to see the liver reticulus or other signs of emboli in the leg. If patient we are suspecting the rhabdomyolysis, we have to see the sign of ischemia. These are the for some renal AKI. And for post-renal AKI, we have to ask for patient for regarding colic pain related to groin for any acute urinary obstruction. We have to ask for nocturnal hesitancy or urgency for prostatic disease, and we have to ask for any abdominal fullness or pelvic pain for any bladder enlargement. So we have to ask the history regarding this all symptoms for rule out the post-renal AKI. We have to do the routine investigation like complete hemogram, one creatinine urine examination, USG, KOB, Doppler, and CT KOB according to the suspected etiology. And if required, according to the history and examination, we can go for additional investigation like C3, CPK, MB, serology, ANA, AMCA.
All these do not produce the AKI.
Sir, these are the causes of RTR generally, but still they are mentioned in initially some present with AKI. But
it is a long story, it is not a short story.
Yeah, it is more present with the RTR, not AKI.
Right.
But still they are mentioned many patients.
They mentioned, why should we believe? We are treating patient as such. Right? If the story is of the months as such.
There are days to be called, days to be this RTR and all that. Now urinary sediment examination in AKI. So urine analysis is very crucial in AKI, but generally we don't much rely on urine examination in AKI.
Even if you don't get the urine.
Yes.
You see, the patient of anuria.
Anuria, we have to treat the patient. But they have mentioned that sediment is an important role in the AKI. Especially
if available.
Yes.
If not available.
If anuria, then we don't have option. But if there is available, we have to go for the urine examination for sediment. General sediment are basically for granulocast 88. We can see the granulocast, that is very important. Rest RBC cast, WBC cast, different cast is available. Phenolphthalein cast, eosinophilic for different etiologies, but most important is granulocast that's in the 18 patients. So the complete list of etiology and cast, but there is not reliable.
Myeloma cast.
Myeloma cast, yes.
You see, for AKI.
Yes, 18. There is myeloma cast you can also see. Some crystals we can see also, like sulfonamide crystals and other pattern causing crystal.
Who using sulfonamide? Only myself, old time.
Recently cannot use. Some HIV drugs like protease inhibitor can cause the crystal.
Absolutely. So that is spectrum has been changed.
But generally we don't much enforce regarding urine examination in AKI. The old fancy diagnosis we use urinary indices, that is FENA. That is calculated by urinary sodium plasma gradient upon plasma sodium in multiplied by urine gradient multiplied by 100. FENA is less than 1% in prerenal stage and more than 1% in the intrinsic cause of the AKI. But we don't usually do this all this FENA. And initially there is a one differential diagnosis of prerenal versus renal. There is a one table like 1 upon plasma gradient ratio is more than 20 is seen in the prerenal, around 10 to 15 is 1 is seen in the 18 Some urine examination is also important. It is normal in the prerenal, some casting in the ATN. Urinary osmolality is more than 500 seen in the prerenal, less than 350 is in the ATN. While to prerenal, the tubules is intake, so urine is able to be concentrated by the tubules. So osmolality is high in the prerenal, while low in the ATN. Urinary sodium is low, less than 20 is prerenal, more than 40 is renal. FAN is less than 1% in the prerenal, more than 2% in the renal.
This is a dynamic process.
Yes, it is.
You can't compartmentalize it.
Yes.
You see, at some stage you think it is the prerenal going to the renal,
Renal, yes.
right? So those criteria are not.
We are not using that much. Now the new list of the biomarkers that is available apart from urea creatinine nowadays, that includes cystatin, NCAR, internucleus 16-18, kidney injury molecule, aniseta beta D-glucosaminoids, LFABP, solubility in a receptor matrix metaproteinase, and isoform 3 of ODM hydrogen exchanger. Among this all molecule, in a European country, they have approved the KIM and NCAR for the diagnosis of AK early than the creatinine. They rise 24 to 48 before the creatinine rising. So many studies done regarding the newer biomarkers of AKI for NCAR and KIM and IL 16-18. So they have mentioned that it is a better correlation of early diagnosis of AKI compared to creatinine, but it has no that much advantage of using this as a part of routine testing because they are very costly.
This is to write the paper.
Sorry?
Yes.
So there are many studies done, but it is not yet approved to be used in the clinical practice. And different biomarkers are arising from the different part of the tubules, like markers of filtration that we are using creatinine and cystatin C. Tubular markers, proximal tubular injury markers are the LFABP, KIM, cystatin C, GST, IL-18, all that. So distal tubular markers are the NCAR, clusterin, and these are the protein resorption failure like NHE, cystatin C, and albumin.
See, instead of creatinine, cystatin C is more reliable,
More reliable,
but less available.
less available.
All GFR at present from creatinine can be converted to the cystatin C.
Yes, there are new formula available for GFR calculation on basis of cystatin C.
But estimated GFR is useless in an acute kidney injury.
Yes,
You see, you can't estimate.
estimated. It is a fluctuating.
Any role of urinary albumin level
No, sir.
in acute kidney?
What is the natural history of AKI? So we can see after an insult, many patients go complete recovery. Some patients develop progressive CKD. Some patients experience acute exhaustion of AKI underlying CKD, and some patients go irreversible loss of kidney function, goes to ESRD. So there are 4 types of history. The patient can convert into recovery total, some total progressive rising creatinine. Some has underlying CKD and they are present with AKI, and some go on the permanent hemodialysis.
You are giving me a chart of multiple sclerosis. What
Hmm.
neurologists are telling.
Yes.
What are the complications of AKI? Patient can present with uremic pegatitis, encephalopathy, hypovolemia, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, hypophosphatemia, hypocalcemia, metastasis, bleeding, infectious, cardiac pegatitis, arrhythmia, diffusion or malnutrition. This is the complication of AKI. Now, main is the management of AKI. General principle: we have to first identify the etiology of AKI. That is very important. Whether it is prerenal, renal, postrenal, or combination of the other two. We have to predict the outcome, whether patient require RRT or conservative management, and we have to monitor the response of intervention and treatment. These 3 are the main vital parts of management of AKI.
No treatment should be started without sonography.
Yes.
If single kidney with the stone is there,
Yes.
you had it.
For the prerenal azotemia, we have to initial stage we have to manage the effective arterial volume by the fluid desensitization. we have to correct the volume deficit by the crystalline colloid. In KDU guideline, they are suggesting there is no difference between using crystalline or colloid. Crystalline are the standard for management of volume depletion in the prerenal AKI. But in some cases, like patient having under cirrhosis, we cannot give much crystalline. We have to use the colloid. We have to optimize the cardiac function. We have to discontinue the antagonistic medication like patient is on ACE, ARB or any nephrotoxin AKI for the pre-renal AKI management. For the post-renal AKI management, we have to first do the ultrasonography of any AKI patient to rule out the obstruction. That is the most crucial things. So if we are finding any obstruction, we have to review that obstruction. If patient is underlying stone or anything, we have to do the stenting or any nephrostomy, and we have to monitor the post-operative dialysis, in which the patient can go in AKI if we are not giving the proper fluid management in the after obstruction review. And recovery of renal function depend on the duration of the obstruction. Sometimes the early obstructive uropathy can permanently recover, but if patient is long-standing obstructive uropathy, the recovery of renal function is not grateful. Regarding the complication treatment of the AKI, for the volume order, we have to strictly see the input output. We have to daily weight the patient. We have to determine the fluid balance for daily. We have to fluid select very judicially. We have to adjust the fluid recently according to the urine output, following the recovery post dialysis or post dialysis. We have to correct the electric imbalance via conservative management, or if required the RRT, we have to monitor that things whether the patient require RRT for hyperkalemia, whether it is refractory or not. We have to manage the electric imbalance. We have to correct the metabolic acidosis by the bicarbonate, or in the refractory case, we have to dialyze the patient. We have to adjust the nutrition. We have to adjust the TPN or protein intake in the patient with AKI, because the AKI is a hypercatabolic stage. We have to adjust the drug dosing according to the GFR, eGFR according to under and hour dosing. We have to according to dose adjust according to dialysis therapy, whether we have to do before dialysis or after
But
dialysis.
eGFR is not important in AKI.
Yes, but they consider we have to adjust the dose, but we not consider.
When you can't measure the
Measure
eGFR,
eGFR.
where is the question of it?
It is not that required.
So that is why the loading dose we need to be a full dose.
Full dose
and then you need to.
Then
And
so
we have to maintenance will be able to adjust according to G. And procedure consideration, we have to use the non-contact CT, approval degree of contact exposure, and prophylactically we use some medication for the avoidance of AKI. What are the actual indication of hemodialysis in AKI? Whether it is a refractory hyperkalemia, refractory acidosis, signs and symptoms of uremia like bleeding, pericarditis, encephalopathy, refractory volume overload, and toxicity or overdose of the dialyzable drugs like aspirin and some digoxin like other drugs. And what are the related indications? It is a polyuria anemia more than 24 hours, exothermia, hypermagnesemia, anticipating worsening of electric problem with AKI like hemolysis syndrome and hepatitis. These are the actual related indication of AKI. So these are the actual indication where we have to dialyze the patient.
see, the issue is how to do is not important. What to do is not important. When to do is important.
And regarding the prevention of AKI, now who are the which patient are risk for the AKI? The patient having the volume depression or hypertension, patient having sepsis, patient having pre-existing renal or hepatic or cardiac disease, patient having diabetes, elderly, exposure of nephrotoxin agent, some drugs like amyloidosis, amphotericin B, immunosuppressive agent, chemotherapy, NSAID, razapropel, patient with post-cardiac surgery or vascular surgery, or a patient with ICU with MODS. These are the risk factors for the AKI. Now regarding the timing of starting of RRT in critically ill patient, there are some landmark trials that is initially done. Initially, first trial was done by the Baumann et al., in which they considered the early dialysis versus late dialysis. Early dialysis, they put the criteria of creatinine clearance less than 20 and less than 12 hours of onset of oliguria, and late group they included the UTI more than 40 or severe pulmonary edema. Early dialysis was that there is no difference in the mortality in this both two group of the patient. So there is no type difference in early versus late initiation according to Baumann. Second trial come by the Jamale et al. Regarding early start of dialysis when the UPA is more than 70 or it is more than 7, or delay start like there is an emergency indication like the refractory polymer or refractory hyperkalemia. When we start the emergent indication, they also think that there is no difference in survival or recovery of renal function in early patient. So there is no difference in early versus late dialysis. One trial only is come, ELINE trial, that shows the early dialysis is more helpful, decreasing the mortality. But the negative point of this trial is there is a small group of patients, and most of the patients are in the surgical group, not the medical group. So this is the some fallacies of the ELINE trial in which they have shown the early dialysis is very helpful to decrease the mortality. Later the APP and IDSO trial they also come to early versus late dialysis. They have mentioned about stage of AD2, 1 or 2 and 3. They show also no difference in the early versus late dialysis mortality in the patients, whether it's an early or late, it doesn't make a difference. So generally we consider the most of the indication is the refractory polymolar, refractory hyperkalemia, refractory acidosis, anemia molecular. These are the actual indications that we have to dialyze. We don't have to dialyze according to the creatinine or urea values in the most of the trials. And there are some trials going on the START-AKI and AKIP. The result has already published. They also shows there is no difference between early versus late dialysis initiation in the mortality or renal recovery. So the main take-home message is the AKI. The most common cause of AKI in hospital is AKI, and there is most of multifactorial. There is no drug treatment has to be shown to limit the progression or speed the limit of recovery of the AKI, like dopamine, phenolphthalein. They are not helpful for the AKI recovery. We have to review the medication and adjust the dose. We have to recognize the factor risk